What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be showing y'all how to do an oil change on a 2019 Dodge Journey. So let's get right into it. First things first, as you can tell, I already have the hood open, so that's kind of step one. So the first thing we're actually going to go ahead and do is I prefer to take this whole engine cover off. That way it's a little bit easier to get to stuff. You can, however, twist and pull up, and then that will be your access for your oil filter, which is right there. But for me, I feel like it's a little bit easier if we just pop this whole engine cover off. And so to do that, you literally just pop it up out of the little holders, and then we can pick it up and get it out of place. That way we can a lot easier see our filter cover canister right there, as well as our oil fill tube here, and our oil engine dipstick right there. So those are the three components that we'll be using on the top, and then I'll show you where the drain plug is on the bottom. Alright, so right there is our oil pan drain plug, that little guy right there. I believe it's a 13 millimeter. I can double check that just to be sure, but we're going to get a pan underneath that and open that plug up so we can start draining out our oil. Yes, I would much rather do this on my lift, but as you can see, it's kind of being taken up right now by my car that is being torn apart. So we're doing this the old-fashioned way and on the ground. So it makes it a little bit harder to film for y'all, but at least then you can see that it's clearly easy to do in your own driveway with simple things. So yes, I can fit underneath the vehicle without lifting it without a creeper. However, when I'm on a creeper, it still sits too low for me to fit underneath easily. So I'm actually going to jack up one side and safely have it on some jack stands so I don't have to worry about it falling off the jack or the jack failing while I'm underneath it. So I'm going to show you how to safely also jack up at least one side of your vehicle so that you can get underneath it easier to get to the plug. So right where that lower control arm is, right here, we are going to, we're going to jack up this passenger side a little bit more, since the pan is more so on the passenger than the driver's side. So I'm going to jack this up, and then I will put a jack stand underneath there and show y'all where I put it. Alrighty, so I've got the jack stand right here underneath the frame rail on the side, and that way I've got all this room up there for my drain pan. Alright, so we're going to take our 13 millimeter and we're going to get this loosened up. There we go. Grab our drain pan. It's not too bad, so that's good. I have a little holder on my pan for the plug, and now we're gonna let that all drain out and go to the top to get the filter out. Alright, so another added bonus of lifting up the passenger side of the vehicle is that it brings this side up, so it's actually easier to reach your fuel filter canister. So I'm using a 15/16 socket to get this cover off while our pan is draining underneath. And you're gonna want to also pop this open so that you have no pressure. That way all of the oil filtration system is not under pressure, so that you can make sure all of the oil drains out the bottom. So I always like to get all of these propped open and off while the bottom plug is still open and draining. So on your canister lid, you're also going to have this O-ring right here. Your new filter should come with the new O-ring for the canister lid, so always double check and make sure that it comes with it, because you need to replace this when you do the filter. So this is the Mopar filter that this vehicle takes. It's MO349. I got this at Oreilleys. I believe it was like $10 something, but here's the filter. So we're going to switch out the one that is in it. See how the bottom also has a little baby O-ring? So when you're pulling that one out, make sure that O-ring also comes with it, and if it doesn't, that means it's stuck down in there. You need to fish it out. But also in the box you have the canister O-ring as well that goes on the canister lid there. We're gonna go ahead and remove our old filter. Like I said, there was the O-ring that's on the bottom, so it's going to give you a little bit of resistance because of that. So you want to pull it straight up and out. And then double check to make sure that your O-ring's on there, which it is. So that's good. I always put the old filter back into the box. That way it doesn't get a huge mess everywhere, and then I can dispose of the box. Another added little thing too to mention is because of this filter being like an open, whereas instead of a hard canister one, it's the one where you can have the filter so you can kind of see through it. So if you are suspected of having issues with your engine, or it's making weird noises, or you notice anything like metal shavings when you go to drain it, you can always go through and kind of cut open that old filter and sift through these paper particles and see if there's anything caught within them. That's a telltale sign that there's something that are other issues going on in your engine, and then that way you can further diagnose the issue later. Now, before I put the new one in, I always like to pre-lubricate any of the sealing surfaces, such as the O-rings. So I'm going to take our fresh oil. We're using 5W20, which is also what it says here on our field cap, 5W20. And I'm just going to take some of this clean oil that is in here and pre-lubricate this O-ring so that it doesn't get cut or anything when I'm reinstalling it back into the housing. So I like to pre-lube. And then we're going to stick it down in there and thump. Once you hear it kind of click into place, then you know it's seated. And then the same thing goes with the new and old O-ring on the canister lid. Now with this O-ring, there's a couple different ways you can actually get it off, depending on the tools that you have. You can either take like a towel and kind of pinch the sides so that you can grab it and then kind of roll it up and out like that once you grab a hold of it. So that's one way of removing it. You can also use like a little screwdriver or a pick to pry it up, such as one of these. Kind of tuck underneath there, pull it up and out. So it's whatever the user prefers, and what you have on hand, obviously. If you are just kind of limited on tooling, sometimes it's easier just to grab a towel and pinch it and pull it up. And some O-rings are tighter than others, so again, it just kind of depends. But I always like to showcase a couple different ways based on application. People can try different things. Another really good habit to get into is cleanliness. So another thing I also like to do is take a towel and just kind of run along where this sealing surface is again. Again, really trying very hard to make sure any dust particles are coming towards the outside. So I don't like to brush in. If anything, I want to wipe towards the outside. That way I'm making sure that nothing is falling into there, just for a little extra added cleanliness and protection. As you can see, this is a very dirty engine bay, considering we're in West Texas and dirt likes to stick to anything and everything that is lubricated. So we're just going to kind of give it a little bit of added cleanliness, and then when we go to put the new O-ring on the canister, I start it first by putting it on the canister and then oiling it. So that way it's easier to handle and you're not trying to like slip and slide around with this thing. And make sure it seats at the bottom here. You don't want it in your threads. That way it has a good sealing surface. And then again, you can take some of your new oil and then lubricate around it. Run it around the O-ring. And then when you put your canister lid back on, you do not want to over torque it. So it even says right here on the lid itself, only right here, 25 plus 5 Newton meters. So that's not a whole lot. So we're gonna get that back on there, start it, get it tightened down the best we can by hand, and then we'll finish it up with our ratchet. So you kind of want to go until you have contact with it, and then just a little bit past that. So right here I'm getting contact, and then boop, right there. That's it. That's all it takes. Not a whole lot at all. And when we're looking at it, our measurement for the torque is right here in front. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how tight it should be, which is not a lot at all. All right, so we're pretty much there as in terms of it draining. So now we're gonna just clean off our plug really good. Clean, clean. And once it touches, snugged. That's all it takes, guys. You definitely don't want to over tighten things. All right, so I also went ahead and took it off the jack stand, so now it's sitting square on the ground. That way when we go to fill it, it's going into the true places that it needs to go instead of on an angle. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out our fill cap. Again, I'm gonna kind of clean up the dirt and grime that was around it. So we're gonna go ahead and grab a funnel, and we're gonna do 6 quarts, but I like to start with 5 and then top off as needed, because some engines take different kind of quantities in a way. It's always good to just have a habit of checking it regardless of what anybody else kind of says. So I always start with the 5 quarts first, and then I add from there. I feel like the easiest way to start off is pouring it sideways. That way you have a lot more control over it, and it doesn't do the whole glug, 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 and splash everywhere. Bada bing, bada boom. And then one nice thing about the quarts is that it shows the lines. So I'm gonna go to this line, and then we'll start it. You want to pour it with the edge down. Okay. I would say that's about half. So let's go ahead and put our cap on, and we'll start it, and make sure to check our dipstick tube. Funnel. And we'll start it. Alright, so now that it's been running, let's go ahead and check our levels. So the first thing, you want to take it out, clean it off. And we are a little bit below where the add is. So we're going to go ahead and give it the rest of that quart. Okay. And of course we're wanting to go to in between these etched areas on the dipstick. In. So it's about right here in the middle. It's kind of hard to tell because that oil is really light colored and it kind of wants to play tricks on you. Put your cap back on. Make sure it locks into place. And then we're going to put our cover back on. Boop. And push down into place. Make sure it's locked. And there you have it. So I hope that helped whoever is doing it and you're kind of lost of where you need to go. This is on the 3.6 liter, so this is the GT version of it. I think there's another version. I think it's a 2.4 liter. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with the Journeys as much, but I know this one's the 3.6. So if that is the engine that you have, then this video will work for you. I'm not sure if it's the same on the other engine because I haven't seen that one. But the 3.6 liter is actually in a couple other applications as well. Hopefully that helps y'all, and if you need to be able to do it by yourself, now you can get the full walkthrough, and make sure you come prepared with those certain tools that you need beforehand, because if you've drained the oil and you forgot something and now you have to go to the store and don't have a spare vehicle, then that really sucks. Not speaking from experience or anything. Been there, done that. But anyways, like I said, I hope that helps y'all out. Now you can do the own maintenance on your car. I'm going to try to figure out if there is an oil change reset light on this. I couldn't for the life of me find one, but we will see. And if not, then we'll just end the video here. So let's see if we can find one. So this particular model did not have an oil life remaining light. So I just put a little sticker up in the upper corner with the mileage. That is where you need to do the oil change. Typically it's around 4,000 miles, so give or take. We typically do 4. That's technically like the severe life intervals. You can go a little longer, But typically, I have a feeling that whenever you write the date, you go over that with the mileage anyways. So that's why I always just stick with 4, and then you can kind of go from there. Some people do 3,000, some do 3,500. OEM manufacturers say 4 for like severe life, so it just kind of varies on preference. But I hope this helped y'all out with that, and keep wrenching.